So this is a video topic that one of you guys on my Snapchat suggested I talk about, and this one is actually surprisingly relevant for me. You wouldn't think that I've had issues with binging and whatnot, but I've actually had extremely bad issues, especially in the last 2 years when it comes to overeating at nighttime. And to be honest, I think a majority of us, more than we actually think, are actually struggling with some sort of eating disorder. I think the first step to getting past an eating disorder is to identify the issue. Why are you overeating foods at night? For me personally, the reason is that I have protein bars and I have Lenny and Larry's cookies right next to my bed within arm's reach. And so for me to decide to eat something healthier or better for me would require me to go all the way downstairs into the kitchen. I know this is an excuse, but this is really how it is. And it would require me to cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. Much easier than that. As soon as I feel a little bit hungry, I just reach over, I grab a bar, I unwrap it and put it in my mouth. This type of thing can just be 1 bar or maybe 2 bars, but it can lead all the way up to 7, 8. There was a period of time where I would eat an entire box of protein bars, 10 bars all at once. So in my case, I would say it's an issue of fake convenience. It's much easier to eat what's right next to me than to go make more food, even though I could easily prepare food for that same situation. That's much better to eat. A bunch of the other more common ones are emotional eating, just a habit. It's just what you've been doing for a very, very long time. And then finally is not eating throughout the day. Now there are many other trigger factors and I think you should identify them. Really take note as to why you're overeating. But those are the most common ones. So those are the ones I'm gonna address. I think this is a really cool idea. I've never implemented this myself, but I've heard this from so many people, especially people who have weight problems. They've said that having a food mood diary is actually really helpful. The idea of a food mood diary is just to help you kind of identify and analyze why you're truly eating. So the way it works, whenever that time zone is that you kind of struggle with overeating, when you get hungry, pull out the book and you have to write down exactly how you're feeling emotionally with your mood, and also whether or not you're really hungry or if it's kind of something else, and then also write down what you decided to eat. That's all. You can continue, you can do your thing, you can eat and whatnot, but for the first start, you just start writing down why you're eating and what it is you're eating, and you start to identify whether or not you're truly eating because you're hungry or if it's one of these other bazillion reasons. Honestly, I think a lot of people struggle with not eating enough throughout the day so that when they get home, their blood sugar is low, their salt, everything is really low, and you're just so hungry. You've been hungry for 4 hours, and that leads a lot of people to overeat their dinner and then continue being hungry right after they finish dinner and have snacks and snacks and snacks, and it just starts kind of a landslide when you don't eat throughout the day. Another thing that can help with this kind of an issue is to schedule a routine of eating. So if you wake up and every single morning you have oatmeal right when you wake up, then you don't ever have to guess about that meal again. Right in the morning, every single time you have breakfast, it is oats, no variability. I think variability is a thing that causes us to be able to binge or overeat quite easily because we don't really know what the goal is. We don't really know what we're gonna eat tonight. But I'm telling you, if you have oats every day for breakfast and at lunch you have the exact same thing with tofu with rice and veggies, and for dinner you have exactly the same meal tempeh or seitan or whatever it is, then you will know exactly breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you will have no variability left. Now, of course, not everybody wants to eat the same thing every single freaking day. So what I do to make this kind of a more manipulated version is for breakfast and lunch, I have the exact same thing every day, and then I leave dinner to be open, and then I have exactly the same snacks. So there's one meal that's variable. You can do this however you want to do it, but maybe locking down certain parts of the day and then letting just a small part of it be variable is going to be better than leaving the whole thing variable. Stress is a huge problem when it comes to overeating. I've noticed this personally. Whenever I get super stressed, when I'm in a high stress situation, I'm doing lots of stuff, maybe I don't have a lot of time because I'm stressed out too, I'm so quick to be like, yeah, let's have some French fries. Whatever, I've been working my ass off, I'm super stressed, I deserve some emotional love, I deserve something that makes me happy because I'm filled in this stressful cloud. But that's not the right way to think about it, right? Instead of fulfilling your stressful needs, instead, why not try to remove some of that stress? And again, of course, you can't take stress completely out of your life. Maybe you have to be working all the time. Maybe you have to be always thinking about a bunch of stuff and that stresses you out. But you can implement certain strategies and techniques that will kind of release your stress. So doing a little bit of yoga or stretching or sitting there and just listening to the nature. Those kind of things can be really, really beneficial for you emotionally and spiritually. And if you just set apart 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever period of time, even if it's 5 minutes, just a few minutes either in the morning, or at lunch, at night, whenever it is, to just sit and listen and look out and do nothing but just breathe big breaths. I think that helps a lot, and having less stress will help you eat less. You thought I was going to leave the actual food choices out of it. I think it's very important to note what you are eating. If you're having high sugar and high salty and high fat foods, I think that is a part of your demise. Sugary and salty foods cause me personally to be much more hungry. If I'm having high sodium, I'm quickly hungry right afterwards, especially with sugar too. I won't be filled up for very long at all if the majority of the food is sugar. When it comes to fat, if you're having something that's a majority of fat in the food is going to be very small and the calories are going to be very dense. So maybe you're only going to get 3 chews and that's going to be a couple hundred calories, where if you chose something else, you'd be able to chew for 10 to 15 bites. I think that's valuable. Now, something that I think you should try to include in every single meal is something fibrous. Try to get some fiber in there, and whether that be straight vegetables in a stir fry, or if that's fiber from oats or whole grains, whatever it is, salad, as long as you can get some fiber in your foods, I tend to fill up a lot easier. And think of the last time you had, a couple of servings of vegetables with a meal. It fills you up a lot faster and it fills me up for a lot longer. So I think that's a good way to kind of cheat yourself. Another little tip that I will do is right when I finish a meal, I drink a glass of water. As soon as it goes into my body, it'll fill and distend my stomach, and then it'll cause me not to want to eat anything for at least another half an hour, which could be the difference between you eating for the next half an hour or starting to eat again in half an hour. Now, everyone is different, but if you're like me and you have specific foods that trigger you to get into eating more at night, then try to take out those foods entirely or limit the amount of them that are in your house. For me personally, it's those Cliff Bars and it's those Lenny and Larry's cookies. If I take those out of my room, then I literally have to go and make some food or just sit there and be hungry. See what I'm saying? When you give yourself the enabled ability to do the overeating, the over snacking, then it's just you against your willpower. You might as well set up a little bit of a physical boundary as well as a mental boundary in your brain to kind of help you out a little bit. Now, you probably have heard this one before, but try to find a new hobby or a new interest, something to get into, because I remember a certain point in my life, I was having trouble with my overeating, my snacking, and whatnot. And this was before I had to start working, but it was while I was in school, college, and was just going to the gym. So I would get done with school, I'd get done with the gym, I'd get done with my homework, and then from that point on, it was time to eat. But I got a new video game at one point, and it was one of those games that I was just so into. For those of you video game heads, it was Skyrim. And so I would just get on as soon as possible and start playing. And now, that's not for everybody. Some people will probably eat more when you're playing video games, but I got so addicted to this game. I'd be playing it, and then I'd realize, oh, snap, it's 2 o'clock. I haven't eaten anything at all in the last 5 hours. So I just run down, make something really fast, like 300 calories, and then go to bed. Just because it was too late and I was so distracted I didn't even think of snacking. I literally got to the point where I was just actually hungry. I think it's hard to find a new hobby, but once you find one and once you truly realize that you love it, I think that's a very helpful one. The last thing that I think you should do is find a support group, and that might be a little bit difficult. That might even make you feel kind of uncomfortable asking or telling people your secrets. But listen, if you're watching this video, and there's views on this video, right? There's a couple people who have also watched this video. There are people who are dealing with the same thing, just like you. There are so many people that deal with this specific issue too, and you are never ever alone. So even if you're not willing to, find one of your friends and start opening up to them and see if maybe they can help you a little bit, even if that's too much, you can just go online, and I guarantee you there are Facebook groups, there are online forums, there are all sorts of different ways to connect to people who are going through the same issue as you. If you are, willing to go to someone in real life, then talk to your best friends. Maybe talk to one of your family members who really cares about you, because it's valuable to be able to text somebody, to be able to connect with somebody, to be able to vibe with somebody. My best friend, my person that I confide in is Curt. And when I have an issue or I'm feeling weird in my head, I go and tell him everything. And it doesn't matter whether I think it's weird, like I'm saying the right things, or I have a well-formulated thought, or maybe I'm just blabbering stuff off at him that ultimately is not put together very well, but it feels good. It feels good. And then he gives me feedback. Whether or not it all made sense or not, he understands what I'm trying to get at him, and then he gives me all this feedback, and I bounce back and forth, and I come out with a fresh perspective. And that's something that's valuable for you guys. If you have somebody that you can do that with, the binging thing, you can start kind of analyzing yourself with them and be like, yeah, well, I guess I never thought about that. Maybe that's a reason. And they start coming up with reasons and kind of work through it with you. And then you have somebody to go back to. You know they know of your issue, and you know they're going to check in with you. And now you have somebody who's kind of like your accountability buddy. So that is it for this video. I really wanted to identify triggers because I've personally identified a lot of them for me as well. And I wanted to identify just different ways that you can kind of combat this, or at least different things you can try to employ yourself and see what works or doesn't work for you. I understand how difficult this kind of a disorder is, overeating, especially at night, because it's a reoccurring cycle every single day, and it has such an emotional roller coaster effect on you. And I've had friends who have dealt with this. I've personally dealt with this. I realize how much of a burden this is, and also how undermined and underplayed this is. You know, it's not something that people, you know, widely accept or realize is an issue. And sometimes it can be kind of nerve-wracking to ask for help or to look for information. So I'm hoping that this video being here can kind of get you a first couple of steps so you can kind of figure out what your plan of attack is with this. But I just want you to know, honestly, I am here with you. I love you to death. If that's one of your things that you don't feel like people care about you, I care about you. I really do. Obese to Beast is another great resource if you want to look up other diet ideas or losing weight or dealing with binging or snacking or anything like that. Honestly, I just want to help you. So I hope that this video was able to do that. And if you have anybody who's dealing with this kind of an issue, it's a real thing. So let them see this video or just direct them to any sort of resource online that can help them out. I think that is going to be very valuable. All right, that is it for this video, guys. A normal video will be up on Friday, a full day of eating. I'm super excited about that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Team Beyond the Week, CT.
Lift heavy or die, MIRIN, motherfucker.
Team Beyond the Week.